BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games, guys. Think you know your stuff? Well, get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every single week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of, get this, $200,000. And when the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of either blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. What's up, guys? Welcome to Believe in Rams, part of the Believe Network. Erin back with you. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, follow this podcast. You can catch us on all the socials, plus Believe TV. We've got a lot to get to, especially you Rams fans. Oh, boy. Tyler Dragon covers the NFL for USA Today. We spoke with him last week. We talked about what this matchup with the Cardinals could look like. First and foremost, hi. How are you doing today? Thank you for jumping on.
So I'm doing good. I'm doing much better than the Rams are doing. And it was what's supposed to be a victory Monday, but it's the opposite for the Rams. So that was a tough loss, but I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I have a lot of questions. A lot of like, where do we go from here? Are the Rams that bad? Are the Cardinals that good? I mean, it was a hard game to watch on Sunday. The Rams lost in the biggest lopsided loss Sean McVay's ever had, 41-10 to the Cardinals, a team they swept last season. Real quick, what did you see? What was your reaction? Initial thoughts here?
So during the game and after the game, I thought about you in this podcast because everything I said that the Rams should do to get a win, the keys to victory, they did the exact opposite. I mean, they let Kyler Murray make all these off-script plays outside the pocket, no pass rush. They let James Conner run wild. The Cardinals had over 200 yards rushing, over 450 yards of total offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. is welcome to the NFL coming out party against the Rams. I mean, like Sean McVay said after the game, it was, an embarrassing loss for the Rams. There was really no positive takeaway from that game, especially when you lose 41-10. I guess if you were to glean anything positive from the game is the Rams have a quick turnaround. They can turn their focus on the 49ers in week 3, and it's a week-to-week league. And they can just move on and try to forget about that loss and learn from it, because it was a very, very ugly and lopsided loss for the Rams.
Yeah, Sean McVay called it humbling. And the Rams had 53 total rushing yards to the Cardinals 231. Like you said, the Cardinals racked up over 200 against this Rams defense. There's so much to get to. I don't even know where we start because, we kind of knew this coming in, a banged up offensive line. They were going to need to make some major adjustments. From every aspect, this team just didn't look good. And you kind of have to wonder now, what is Sean McVay thinking? What is he game planning? If he manages, because like you said, with or without Christian McCaffrey, they play host to the Niners. They split the series last year with them. It's kind of like their backs against the wall. What does a team like this do now? It's so early in the season, right? They don't have a bye till week 6. Then they play the Raiders week 7. We expect possibly Puka Nacua to be back by then. We don't know. What good news is there coming out of the Rams?
I think the only good news is it's the beginning of the season, and you still have a majority of the season left in front of you. But overall, when you look at what the Rams are right now, they're in an 0-2 hole. Let's be blunt about it. Let's be honest. That's a tough spot to be in to begin the season. However, things can turn around quickly in the NFL, especially beginning this week. They have a prime opportunity to face the 49ers squad in the Rams home opener at SoFi Stadium to put a good product on tape and come out with an upset victory. That could turn around their season right there. Now, it's easier said than done. The 49ers have also had a frustrating loss week 2 to the Minnesota Vikings. So they're going to come out like gangbusters too, even without Christian McCaffrey. So they're going to put their best effort against the division rival in the Rams. So if I'm Sean McVay and I'm the Rams, I watch the tape, review it, learn from it, and immediately throw it away after today, because there was really nothing good that you can take away from that performance. I mean, the Cardinals beat them in all 3 phases of the game, and it was really from almost the opening kick. There was not much positive from the Rams in that game. And to put insult to injury, literally, Cooper Kupp goes down with a left ankle injury, and we don't know the prognosis of his the severity, I would say, of his injury. We should find that out soon, but it's a tough blow for the Rams.
Yeah, a tough blow, back-to-back weeks to lose a huge weapon for Stafford like that. And we are, after the game, McVay didn't update us on the injury, didn't say anything about him moving forward. I looked online, some doctors, just by virtue of being experts, but not actually there on the field, said he may not go on IR. Again, we don't know anything yet at the time of this podcast, at the time it was recorded. Hopefully we'll get more information today. But, Stafford, let's just break it down a little bit. That offensive line banged up. They've been banged up, guys, since training camp. They've had issues even entering the regular season, shuffling around that offensive line. We just kind of always assume, because Stafford is so good and they have a run game, that they could possibly overcompensate for some of the shuffling around. But Stafford was sacked 5 times and a fumble loss.
Yeah, that offensive line kind of reared its ugly head yesterday against the Cardinals. I mean, the good news is Alec Jackson, I believe, gets off suspension in week 3, so he can return. You want to get that O-line healthy. They really did not have a solid running game at all. I mean, I feel bad because it's like a doom and gloom podcast. I want to try to be positive for the Rams, but just after yesterday, it's just the Rams, they have a lot of injuries right now, especially this early in the season. And they're going to need some players to step up across the board, not even just that offensive line, but even the secondary receivers, a DeMarcus Robinson, a Tyler Johnson. They have to step up. I mean, you need their offensive line to block better. Stafford, we all know, he's one of the older quarterbacks in the league. He cannot be sacked 5 times. You have to be able to block up front to protect your franchise quarterback, because if the quarterback gets hurt, we all know how important they mean to a team, and how, wins and losses are in large part determined by how good your quarterback plays. And if they have a backup quarterback in, then the Rams season is going to go nowhere fast. So they definitely have to protect him.
Yeah, right. And these were all games that whenever I had interviews prior to the season, we got the schedule release, we were counting on these wins, because we kind of almost assumed that the Rams would split the series with the Niners. So at the very least, based on last season, the Rams sort of assumed they could get a W in Arizona against the Cardinals, because now coming up, they have the Niners at home, but then they go to Chicago and they play Caleb Williams, then they play the Packers at home, then they have that bye, and then of course they have the Raiders. And it just seems like this season's going to feel longer with all these stacked up injuries moving forward. And actually, now it bears the question of the question I asked earlier. Are the Cardinals better than we thought they were, or are the Rams just right now not a great team?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Honestly. The Cardinals, they played the Bills hard in week 1. They really
Yeah.
surprised me. They almost won that game on the road against Buffalo. And that's without a lot of production from their star emerging receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. in week 1. In week 2, we saw why Harrison was a prohibitive number 1 receiver in this year's draft with, 130 yards receiving, 4 catches, 2 touchdowns. So the Cardinals are a lot better than we thought. Kyler Murray looks healthy, looks as agile as ever, and their defense is playing a lot better. And kudos to Gannon, the head coach Jonathan Gannon, for having the Cardinals. They're going to play hard. They're going to be competitive. So you have to give them credit. For the Rams, I think the injuries are starting to take a toll. I mean, both sides of the football. And that's unfortunate because it's so early in the season that the Rams have already all these huge injury concerns. I mean, you think about it. Puka Nakua's on IR. Cooper Kupp might miss games with an ankle injury. And then, not to mention, they lost their best defensive player ever due to retirement in the offseason. Those are 3 of your franchise pieces from last season that are either hurt or retired. It's tough to come back after losing players like that. And the defense, really, you can point that they missed Aaron Donald yesterday. They could not contain Kyler Murray. They couldn't stop the run. And Aaron Donald was one of the best at doing that during his time. Aaron Donald gave Kyler Murray nightmares during his career. And without Aaron Donald for the first time, Kyler Murray was just looking like one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So I think it's a little bit of both. The Rams have had a tough break with injuries at the start of the season, and they're starting to mount and they're starting to take a toll. And you can see it in the win and loss column. Now they're in an 0-2 hole. First time in Sean McVay's coaching era that he's fallen to 0-2. I believe it's the first time since 2011 the Rams have started the season 0-2. So they have to look in the mirror and really try to figure out how they can get better. And it starts in the trenches with protecting Matt Stafford. And on defense, you have to impose your will along the defensive line, especially a team like the San Francisco 49ers, who is going to run the football and going to try to be the most physical team on Sunday.
Yeah. McVay's never gone 0-3. And the Rams gave Kyler Murray a perfect passer rating. And when we had Marshall Faulk on last week, I want to say, it was an interesting point that he said, listen, when you're missing your top offensive lineman, your first team offensive lineman, that affects your defense. Why does that affect your defense? Obviously, the defensive line isn't getting as elite in practice of play. So think about the trickle down effect. Yes, like you mentioned, and I wanted to talk to you about the defense because it is a young defense. And it's giving all the other teams in the league an opportunity to see that maybe this team's defense, even without, of course, Aaron Donald, maybe didn't do enough in terms of being able to stop the run. Like you said, Kyler Murray ran all over the place. I mean, what did you see on defense? What can they do? I mean, it just seems like Sean McVay has so many sort of holes to fill at the moment.
They struggle in all phases on the defense, from the front seven to the secondary. I mean, the Rams, when I look at their defense, it's really, to be honest, it's a transition year. When you lose a player, like I mentioned before, like Aaron Donald, you don't recover from that after one season. You're going to kind of have to build your defense up. And Jalen Ramsey's out the door too. And I know he's been out the door for a while, but they don't have a bona fide shutdown cornerback. I mean, they're trying to build that up with, a Kobe Durant and but you have Tre'Davious White out there. He's kind of old and past his prime, has an injury history. He's not the cornerback of old. So their secondary is kind of makeshift, and they're going through a transition period, as well as their front seven. So it's going to take some time for their defense to gel. And you kind of saw that against the Cardinals because they looked out of sorts out there. They could not stop a nosebleed. And when I look at their defense, they got out physical and they just couldn't really stop the bleeding. Once it happened, it's just kept on going, kept on going, kept on going. And to me, it's not as part of coaching. It's just a part of imposing your will and being able to win one-on-one matchups. There wasn't enough of that with the Rams. They weren't winning those one-on-one matchups against a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a James Conner, or when Kyler Murray got outside the pocket. What are you going to do to stick to your man? Or why are you letting him get outside the pocket? You know that coming into the game, you want to try to put Kyler Murray within the confines of the pocket. Don't let him get outside. But they did that time and time and again. And that's not executing when you're a defensive player.
Yeah, no, even Aaron Donald, who was watching the game, tweeted out, wow, at 1:47 p.m. when the game was underway. It was, fairly early in the game, and all he had to say was wow. So yes, his absence is felt, and this team on defense has had a lot of changes, guys, right? Raheem Morris is no longer there. Chris Shula moves up as the defensive coordinator. They lose Aaron Donald, and big questions at the secondary. They have some guys missing in that department. I mean, it's hard to pick out what is a positive right now. It's a younger team. And like you said, games are won and lost in the trenches. And when your offensive line is decimated this way, it seems like where do the Rams go from here? Because this is the first time the Rams have this is so uncharacteristic. They've never lost in Arizona in the last 10 years. I want to say since 2014. Remember, this was a team that sort of they counted on to get a W, whether they were home or away. And now, third game of the season, they play host to a very important division rival in the 49ers. I guess my next question to you is, and I suppose this is just the big question to ask is, what is Sean McVay going to do if he is able to somehow figure it out and create a blueprint for a win for a team like this that has such high expectations and has had so many injuries throughout training camp? It just seems like, where does Sean McVay go from here?
So my funny answer is go to medical school, become a doctor, and get Puka Nacua healthy, get Cooper Kupp healthy, and the offensive line healthy immediately. But my honest answer is you have to get some of those young players motivated and to step up, because they're going to have to rely on them with all the injuries they have across the board, whether that's on the O-line, whether that's at receiver, and defensively. That secondary has to be able to step up. You can't allow a player to have over 125 receiving yards, and then you can't allow over 230 rushing yards in the same game. And the 49ers, on paper, they're a better offense than the Cardinals. Maybe they didn't show that Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, but when you have a Brock Purdy at quarterback and all the weapons that they have in a George Kittle, a Brandon Ayuk, and a Deebo Samuel, even without Christian McCaffrey, that's one of the best offenses in the entire football league. Now, they play a different style than the Cardinals, but they're going to play a run-oriented offense. They're going to do a lot of motioning pre-snap, and after the snap, they're going to do a lot of moving around to try to get the defense moving side to side. So you have to play discipline as a defense, keep those players in front of you. Now, it's easier said than done. They've had a difficult time against the 49ers, in the Sean McVay era. 49ers have more talent, so you're going to have to game plan better if you're Sean McVay, and you're going to have to execute at a high level, because the team, in all honesty, in the 49ers, they have, one, they're healthier, and two, across the board, this is a Super Bowl caliber team.
Right.
We can't say that about the Rams right now. They're 0-2. nobody really expect them to be a Super Bowl caliber team. So you're going to have to exceed expectations and play with a high intensity to beat the 49ers. The good news is they're at home. You got home cooking. You're at SoFi Stadium. It's your home opener. So you should be motivated for that, to put on a good product and a good showing in front of your home fans in Inglewood. So for the Rams' sake, that's the positive. You're at home, your home opener. You should feel good about that going up against a division rival who's probably as angry as you are after week 2.
Yeah. 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 All good stuff. I guess we shall see how the Rams do. Like you said, first home game of the season against the 49ers. Sean McVay has never gone 0-3. And the other good news is, they have that bye week early in the season. So hopefully they can figure out how to get guys back. I mean, this is the NFL. It's about overcoming adversity. Everybody gets banged up, not quite this much this soon in the season, but the good news is the X factor of any game is always Sean McVay, and he brings it, and he's going to want to bring it against Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers, and see what with or without McCaffrey, like you said. I think it'll be a really interesting game. And hopefully the Rams can find their first win of the season. Tyler Dragon, thank you for the time today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Bye.